This is the sew along for the Greenstyle Delphi sports bra. In this tutorial, I will be sewing the twist back view using 3/8 inch elastic for the straps and 2-inch elastic for the underbust. For all views, cut 1 front main A1 on the fold in main fabric. Mark notches for strap installment. Cut 2 fancy back main to AB mirrored in main. Be sure to mark notches on both. Cut 1 front lining L1 on fold in lining, and cut 2 fancy back lining L2B mirrored in lining. Cut 2 straps S1 in desired elastic width. Be sure to mark notches on the straps. For the twisted back view, cut 1 S3 in main. Mark strap notches. Cut 1 front band B2A in main. Cut 1 back band B2B in main, marking notches. Additional supplies required include either 3/8 inch or 1/2 inch elastic, we suggest rubber elastic, and either 1.5 inch or 2-inch elastic for the underbust. Place front main right sides together with the front lining, align along the top neck curve. For additional compression, cut an additional front main in power mesh to be sandwiched between the main and lining of the bra front. Sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance using a stretch stitch or serger. Optionally understitch the lining of the seam allowance. With the assembled bra front right side out and right side up, place the strap right side together with the front of the bra. Align the end of the strap with the side seam of the bra at the bottom of the arm side and pin in place. Align the first notch on the strap with the circular notch at the top of the arm side. Starting approximately 1 inch before the notch, place elastic along the wrong side of the strap. Elastic will run up the length of the remaining strap at a 1-to-1 ratio. For additional support or larger bust, it's recommended to run the elastic the entire length of the arm side. When attaching the strap, sew the fabric-only portion with your standard knit differential. When you get to the elastic portion, decrease your differential to neutral. Sew down the length of the strap with a 1/4 inch seam allowance using a stretch stitch or serger. And continue sewing up the length of the strap. Wrap the width of the strap around the elastic and seam allowance of the front bra to fully encase the elastic. Depending on how tightly the elastic is wrapped, some of the wrong side of the strap may show from the front. We'll trim that off in a later step. At the side seam, the strap should be 3/8 inch thick. This will allow for proper alignment when attaching the back to the front. top stitch down the length of the strap using a cover stitch or zigzag stitch. Trim any excess strap left visible at the right side. Place the fancy back main right side together with the fancy back lining aligning along the top and side seams. Pin across the top. And sew across the top line with a 1/4 inch seam allowance using a stretch stitch or serger. For the twisted back view, fold the twisted back S3 right sides together. The pattern piece is not symmetrical. Align along the top edge and at the notches with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Place the elastic along the more jagged pointed edge of the pattern as designated on the pattern piece. Pin. It's a good idea to transfer the notches from the pattern piece to the elastic. Sew along the top edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a differential set to neutral. Using either a stretch stitch or a serger, sew from notch to notch, leaving a gap the width of your strap, and notch to end. If using a serger, do not trim the tails of your serger threads. Turn the tube right side out. The seam allowance will be in the back of the pattern, roughly 1/4 inch from the top of the folded pattern piece. Orient your tube so the unsewn portion of the elastic points up and the seam allowance points down. This will properly align the diagonals along the raw edge and create a little pocket for the straps to easily slide into. To orient yourself, it can be helpful to lay out the back pattern pieces as they will finish. The edge of the twist back S3 will align to the inner edges of the assembled fancy back pieces. Align the top edge of the twist back with the seam allowance where the bra fancy back pieces L2B and A2B are joined. Optionally, baste stitch the twist back to whichever side of the fancy back pieces you opt to align it to first. Fold the right side of the assembled back lining down to align at the bottom of the back main. This will sandwich the twist back pieces between the right sides of the assembled fancy back main and lining. Sew along the inner edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance using a stretch stitch or serger. The back lining is 1/4 inch shorter than the back main. This should allow for the seam allowance to roll just slightly to the back of the twisted piece to reduce bulk. Repeat the process with the other side of the fancy back. The bottom of the twist should be approximately 3/8 inch from the bottom of the fancy back pieces. Place the assembled bra front with the lining side facing up. Then put the assembled back right side up, lining up the bottom of the arm side seams, and the bra bottom. Lift the main side of the assembled fancy back out of the way. Pin the fancy back lining to the assembled bra front. Take the main back piece and wrap it around the arm side binding of the front. Align it along the side seams as well. It should match at the bottom edge of the back lining. This will create a sandwich with the bra front between the layers of the back. Once everything is aligned, repin to secure. Using a stretch stitch or serger, sew down the side seam with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Using a standard sewing machine can decrease the bulk of this seam. Repeat the process on the other side and turn the bra right side out. Rotate the twisted back twice so both mains are right side up. Repeat the pinning and sewing process on the other side. Fold the bra back band in half right sides together. Make a 3/8 inch snip at the notches. Sew between the notches using a 3/8 inch seam allowance with a stretch stitch or serger. Pull the bra back band through the tube, turning it right side out. Open the unsewn portion of the bra back band and align it to the short ends of the bra front band. Sew the short edges with a 3/8 inch seam allowance using a stretch stitch or serger. Place the assembled bra band around the assembled bra. Align the notches on the bra back with those of the bra band. The side seams of the assembled bra will also align with the side seams of the bra band. align all raw edges. The bra band will be slightly smaller than the bra, so it will need to be stretched just slightly as it is sewn. Start your seam line approximately 2 inches from the back of either notch. Leave an unsewn section of the bra to feed the elastic through later. Sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance using a stretch stitch or serger. Do not trim serger thread tails at the end of your seam. Check the length of the elastic provided in the cut chart for personal preference. Feed the elastic through the 2-inch gap in the bra band using a safety pin or something similar. Overlap the short ends of the elastic by approximately 1 inch. Sew the short ends using a stretch stitch. Feed the exposed elastic into the bra band and sew the remaining gap of the bra band with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Begin where you started your first pass around the bra band and work towards the notch. Again, do not trim any tails and threads. Thread remaining tails through the seam allowance using a larger-eyed needle. Feed the free ends of the straps into the gaps at the notches on the top of the infinity crossback or twist back. Pin the straps in place and try on the raw to check the length for your comfort. These straps are what will pull the back pieces up when worn, creating the infinity or fan-like shape. Adjust the strap length to get the look and support you want. Once you're happy with the fit of the appearance, trim any excess strap length. Secure the straps in place using a reinforcing stretch stitch, being sure to secure the straps to the elastic in the stitch line of the back twist piece. And with that, your Greenstyle Delphi sports bra is done. We'd love to see your makes. Tag us on socials using the hashtag GSDelphiBra. Happy sewing, friends!